to be with you on this most unusual occasion. I'd like to try to tell you a little bit about Ulysses and perhaps about Inez as well. And the bare bone facts are the following. This man is a writer, but he's much more than that. In fact, he's a mathematician, and we'll get into that in greater detail in a moment. So he was born not long ago in 1971 in Havana, and he has only a few gray hairs, as you can see. So he had his primary education there, and he majored in physics, and he completed his undergraduate studies in physics. And come the age of 25, he escaped to Spain, and the next lengthy segment of his life was in Madrid. So in Madrid, several very important things happened to him. I believe the most important was that he met Inez, of course. And meantime, he met one of the leading thinkers and commentators with regard to international and especially Latin American affairs, Montaner, with whom he worked at some length. And he also met important mathematician, Logomasino, with whom he worked at some length. And to give you an example of the kind of mathematics, so I'm talking about creative mathematics. I'm not talking about your laundry bill or something like this. This is at another level. So I'm sorry, but it's not my language. So I'm just going to ask you, do you understand about Hermite-Padé approximations for certain systems of meromorphic functions? Huh? If you would like, so that, for all I know, might be actually included as one of the stories, but I think he knows a lot more about it. That's not the only subject matter which is in his writings. So as I get it, for some period of time, he has combined this double identity. And I think this is something extraordinary, really something wonderful. Because to sustain, it's one thing to dabble. I occasionally write a poem, okay, well, there it was done. But it's not a continuing investment. And the continuing investment, I think, elicits more. And he obviously has done so. And as I understand it, my knowledge is very fragmentary. There's more coming. So we may have another reunion here at some unspecified time in the future. So just a couple of other comments. One, in addition to being a creative mathematician, he's become a mathematics teacher at the university, both in Spain and also in the United States. And I'll read you a brief, you know, in this world that we live in, the students are allowed to write a critique of their professors, and then that goes public, and sometimes this is a major annoyance to those of us who don't fare quite so well. But our author of the day has been described as an exceptional educator with real passion for mathematics, dedicated to helping students achieve success. Can you imagine? So how could you do better than this? This is off scale. You'd think he might have just gone into teaching at that point, where he still is making a major effort, but it's more than that. So Ulysses, when we first met, of course, I was surprised by his name, because I associated his name with a Homeric tradition. Well, that's a tradition of writing as well. But Ulysses had a special other, very peregrination inclined, traveling, international mindset, in the sense, obviously, that when you read Homer, you realize that Ulysses, in order to come back from the Trojan Wars, he traveled and he traveled and he traveled. And in reality, it's not the geography, which is still debated. You know, people still worry just where was Ulysses, where was this island, where was that? It was really the dimensions of existence. It was really the dimensions of discovery, of temptation, and so forth. So I think to have such a name is it's an invitation to more. This tradition of combining science and writing is a very old one. I don't know about Homer, but if you think about Pascal, who wrote his Pensées, but indeed was also responsible for major mathematical achievements and reflections, only some of them resolved today. If you think about perhaps William Carlos Williams, much more recent American doctor and poet, and then if you think of certain others, there's a path to follow, a path of creativity, a path of combining very different worlds. And one that strikes me as especially relevant is the path of Ramon y Cajal, because Ramon y Cajal was the brilliant Spanish neuropathologist who figured out how properly to stain the nervous system in such a fashion that if you wanted to understand a neuron in the brain, what did it connect with? Well, he found if he appropriately stained tissues with silver salts, then he could trace a single nerve cell all the way from the brain as far as it would go with this lengthy process. So I take that as evocation of the far-reaching potential of what we're going to be hearing about this afternoon. Thank you very much.